Carl Snowden, Broadened Participation in Voting Benefits All, November 8th, 2016. Today, millions of Americans are joining in the greatest march that citizens can participate in, the march to the ballot box. By the end of the day, we in this country will have helped select a new president and a new U.S. senator, as well as picking members of the circuit court on all three branches of our government: executive, the legislative, and the judicial. We, the people, will have made known our views. President Barack Obama prudently advised Americans to not boo, but vote. First Lady Michelle Obama's advice was, when they go low, we go high. I want to commend a number of people who made it possible for more citizens to participate in our democracy. House of Delegates Speaker Michael E. Bush and members of the General Assembly enacted early voting, which has proven to be a great success. To see thousands of people lining up at polling places during early voting throughout Anne Arundel County is a great reaffirmation of a system that allows people to express their preferences for candidates ranging from president to local board of education members. This has not always been the case. Our history is replete with examples of people not being allowed to participate in the great experiment we all call democracy. There was a time when women were denied the right to vote, but they won this right in 1920 and now make up more than 53% of the electorate. I am often reminded by my mother, who was born in 1916, that her own mother could not vote. Now she will have an opportunity to cast a ballot for a woman to become president of the United States of America. Just as 8 years ago, she joined the fellow Americans in electing an African-American president. In 1957, at a prayer pilgrimage for freedom in Washington, D.C., the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Give us the ballot." He knew that if all Americans had the right to march, they also had the right to vote. This precious right is why patriots said no taxation without representation. We have learned that every voice should be heard, and that the best government is a government that reflects the people it serves. This is why we constantly remind our elected officials of their responsibility to represent all of the people. We have not reached the zenith of our democracy. We are not perfect union, yet we are making progress. To see Latinos, Asian Americans, African Americans, whites, and others who make up America family exercising their right to vote is indeed special. I was so proud of the caucus of African American leaders, the District 30 Democratic Club, the NAACP, and the clergy as they work to mobilize citizens to participate in this historic election. A special shout out goes to the Apostle Larry Lee Thomas Sr. and other clergy for their successful souls to the polls efforts during early voting. By 8 p.m. today, the polls will be closed. The voters will have spoken. This year's presidential election has been both contentious and at times dreadful. Yet, we'll witness what few nations see, a peaceful transition of power. Regardless of the outcome, Americans will accept the decision of their fellow Americans. This decision will be easier to accept because all Americans will have been allowed to participate in the greatest march conceived of, the march to the ballot box. In many ways, each election is a continuation of our collective efforts to create a better world for unborn generations, which is precisely why I maintain that while we have not reached our goals, we must keep struggling to make America better, not bitter. A luta continua, which in Portuguese means the struggle continues.